And as usual, a full draw cup. The Allies do have an advantage. I think they have 11 chits to the French 7. So maybe they will gain initiative this turn. And they do. So they'll get to jump on the French. I'm looking forward to at least one cavalry charge, if not more. Okay, let's not bury the lead. I'm going to go ahead and move the 2nd Corps. I'm going to start with a charge, hopefully. This Landwehr cavalry, the 3rd Brigade, is I think attached to the 7th Brigade, Infantry Brigade. And they have a morale of 31. So I'm going to hope that they can pass a morale check so I can charge them this direction and see what kind of mischief I can make down there. Oh yeah, we did pass. So let's see if we can get into the rear through this little gap. Now on the plus side we have a little gap we can get through. On the bad side we have to ride past those guns. So we're already going to decide we're not declaring them as the target. But that means we'll be subjected to opportunity fire trying to get past those guns. So I move here, then here. I have to face point blank fire by those Young Guard guns. Well, the French rolled a high number, inflicted 2 casualties, but the morale check was a 51. So more than enough to pass for that Landwehr cavalry. That means we're going to get to go further. Now I have to decide what to do. I watched this charge only vaguely understanding what it was I wanted to accomplish. I could pivot, possibly hit the Grand Batteries, but as I remember, I can about face them, and that means I can't really get on the flank of an artillery battery. So I'm going to stick to my original plan, which was to hit the ammunition wagons. That means I have to read the rules to see what the heck ammunition wagons do when they're charged. Might be saying, hey, didn't you already charge some ammunition wagons? And I'd say, yeah, I did, but I can't remember what I did to resolve that. So, reading the rules, it's not entirely clear, but I'm going to treat them as if they're limbered artillery, which means they would rout on contact, and then the charging cavalry can try to recall and choose another target. So we will first, I guess I really want to hit this old guard, but I don't want to miss anybody, so I think I'll first hit that one, and he will rout, plus Cron Disorder. Technically nothing's allowed to move through, but if they do, that's a stacking violation. So I'm going to move him back 1, and then morale check. And they have excellent morale, so I don't anticipate any cascades there. They do pass. Before I move any further, I'm going to try to recall that cavalry. Nice, so they recall, and we'll retreat these guys the rest of their way. Don't have any good ways to send them. Had to run them towards a bridge, and that's going to cause another stacking violation and morale check. No morale check, because that unit had no morale, so that's a pass. So now I can declare another target. I'm going to... Geez, I can never remember. Does line of sight extend across the hex side? I don't care, I'm going to say it does. So we're going to hit this guy right here. He's going to rout. Into the man behind him. Another morale check with a stacking violation, which he easily passes, but we have to send him on his way again. More or less the same route we took with the other guy. And I'll get to that later since I don't care about the route path. Now we have to try to recall again, see if we can hit the next target. Darn. Failed recall. So that means really this unit that I retreated won. These guys will pursue, inflict a casualty, and kill them, which is a pretty good outcome anyway. But I was hoping to kind of clear a swath through that area. But destroying one ammunition wagon isn't too bad. Routing another, not quite what we were hoping for. So this guy will end his charge right there, deep behind French lines, all by himself, and just waiting to be crushed. So that's our first charge. Now, the rules are you have to complete all movement for a maneuver unit before it's going to the next, except for cavalry charges. So now we're going to switch to the other side of the field here and perform another charge with another maneuver unit. So that might be more of a regulations type of restriction, but anyway, we're going to jump over here and throw the Prussian Uhlans of the 1st Brigade at the Lancers of the, I think that's the 5th Division there. And these guys, the Uhlans, are actually not armed with lances, so we won't have any benefit for being in line. But these guys are. We're going to launch them at both these regiments here. So we'll start with the 8th Uhlan. Move. Now we could countercharge and avoid the 3 hexes in a line advantage they would get for charging us. So we'll try to reaction charge that French Lancer regiment. Well, that's too bad for the French. They did not successfully counter reaction charge, so they will receive that charge in that hex without any with a doubling benefit for the Prussians. I will throw the 2nd Prussian regiment out there. And we're going to try to reaction charge here. .23 morale. That one does successfully, not an assault, a reaction charge. So he will move his 1, and the Prussian will move 1. I think I waited too long, didn't I? 1, 2, 3. Would he have had a line of sight down there? Can't tell. So it looks like that didn't turn out the way I wanted. If he was right here, no, he would have seen him right there. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to say he started 1 hex earlier. Because the whole purpose was to avoid the doubling effect. So they will move and go to melee. So 1 hex is very important. Makes it a little fiddly and slow, but it can make a difference. So I gave myself the benefit of the doubt. If you're playing one side, you notice things like that. So we will start with this combat right there. And with the benefit of the doubling, they have a 3-to-1 attack here. When the leader effects are taken into account, it's a 2 increment loss for the French. No loss for the Prussians. French will end up tired. Prussians will end up exhausted. And unfortunately right next to those guns. Guns don't fire during the defensive fire phase because they are not the target of the charge. So we'll go to this second combat here. A 1-to-1 attack with the leadership modifiers results in a 0 and for each side and a morale check for the French. The morale dice are a 63, so they pass easily. So basically both will just stop right there ending exhausted. Now what happens to the French maneuver unit? It's not used up for having reaction charged, is it? I don't think so, so we're going to put that on top. I think he's technically moved though, so we'll spend his movement. And finish that charge. I think that's our only charge we're going to undertake. So now we can go on with normal movement. So here Quatre Bras, just shifting the 3rd and 1st Divisions around, trying to form a coherent line. Hasn't been much of one the last couple of hours, so tried to get a good face to the French, but also putting a little bit of fire both on this cavalry and this infantry here. Otherwise, just one unit formed line, nothing happening over here. Here at Ligny in the central position, the 2nd Corps had a maneuver unit. I gave some thought to running some infantry at the guns here, but I think that'll just cause a failure. And I'm afraid of a cascading failure for the various land bear units around here. So, shifted some artillery, shifted a couple of units around, but otherwise didn't do much. Didn't try to extricate my charged Landwehr cavalry right there. But the 3rd Corps was definitely in motion. Moved the 12th Brigade around a little bit to give some support to that artillery, and also just for the heck of it, decided to throw some infantry at that French artillery unit. But they've set up a gun line here to start putting some fire on that cavalry. And here the 10th Brigade crossed the stream. They're going to assault that skirmisher cavalry, who will just retreat out of the way. But at least they are now moving a little bit and starting to make their presence known. So with that completed, we can move into the fire phases. Fire combat results here at Quatre Bras. I generally skip going through fire combat just because it takes a long time, but it's still pretty important. It has a lot of good important side effects. We'll start to see those here. So first up, we'd have this exchange here, and that French battalion took their last casualty and were eliminated. And a funny twist, this is a out of command company of artillery for the Brunswick, who have been sitting here stuck for, I'm not sure how long, 5, 6, 8 turns. They can't move, and these skirmishers finally got a shot on them, inflicted a casualty. But they didn't fail their morale check, so they're still stuck right there. But otherwise, those were the only 2 spots that had contact here at Quatre Bras. A lot more happening here at Ligny. Lots of casualties and some retreats. This unit took a casualty and retreated. Here's another one that retreated. French had a casualty and retreated. Another casualty here that caused a retreat. Kind of casualties along the line. Now the Prussian guns expended a whole lot of ammunition, but only got 2 suppressions on these 2 batteries of the Guard. That's going to be important because that's less shot and shell coming back in the French turn. Actually, the last one here was pretty lucky shot. This artillery, it has taken an increment loss, firing at medium range here, rolled a very high number and somehow inflicted the final casualty on that French battalion of the 13th Division. Towards the east here, the French skirmishing cavalry managed to inflict a casualty and a morale check failure and a retreat, and then they themselves retreated. Some artillery fire coming from the Prussians here resulted in 2 casualties on the dragoons and suppressed that artillery battery. This battery did some damage, but didn't cause a retreat on those assaulting Landwehr. And last, back to the point of our cavalry charge here on the southeast side. Those guns with point-blank range, firing into the flank of those Uhlans, inflicted 2 casualties and, unfortunately, another leader casualty. At least it's the corps leader. He has a good bonus, but it doesn't cost him a command or command point. But yet one more leader lost for the Allies. On the plus side, the unit did not fail their morale check, so they were able to remain right there. Completion of the fire phase brings us to the assault melee phase. No assaults at Quatre Bras, but here at Ligny we have a couple of spots. First we're going to have this battalion assault into that hex that was vacated by the retreating cavalry skirmishers, and the same right here. So just advances, no real combats. However, we will have a combat, possibly, right here, as that Landwehr infantry goes against those horse artillery battery there. So the first thing we have to do is a pre-melee morale check. There are 9 increments total against 2, so that'll be 4-to-1 odds. Pretty good morale there for that battery, though. But the battery fails its stand morale check and therefore disorders and is eliminated. So we get to move 1 of our units into that hex. I think I'm going to move this one. So that'll be the end of our melee. Now we just have to rally, reorganize, and that'll be the end of our chip hole here. For rally, the most significant outcome is here at Quatre Bras and the recovery of 4 battalions here in the British Brigade of the 5th Division. Now these are all very depleted, but at least it'll help get them down off that morale level, if they can stay together till the end of the hour. Otherwise, I'll conclude this chip pull and we'll move on to the next.